And I'll go ahead and screen share.
Well, maybe the three of us could introduce ourselves to start. So I'm Brad Applehands, one of the co-directors of the Investigator Development Corps. And so we're the unit of C3EN that puts on this pilot award program. And then I'll turn it over to Arshia.
Hi, I'm Arshia Baig at the University of Chicago. I'm a general internist and researcher, and I co-lead the Investigator Development Corps with Brad and with Melanie.
Hi, I'm Melanie Nordstrom, and I'm at University of Chicago, and I'm the program manager that does all the administrative work related to the pilot award program. Okay.
Well, welcome everyone. So we have about 15 slides or so, and we'll just go through the nuts and bolts of this pilot award opportunity. But those were the first two slides, so we're down to 13 more slides to go. So yeah, we actually have two different pilot programs. The one we're talking about today is the one for research pilot projects. And the goal is to expand and cultivate a network of health disparities researchers throughout Chicago. We're trying to fund early stage investigators who are doing compelling work. And particularly, we're looking to fund work they can then leverage in a future NIH-funded program of research. So we're looking for early investigators, this being kind of a pivotal pilot study that they can then build on to establish an independent career as a disparities researcher. So in addition to the funding, the center is going to support investigators in a few other ways. So one is by connecting you with mentorship. So there will be a mentor as part of your proposal, but we also have mentorship within the center. We have really wonderful research infrastructure, both at University of Chicago and Rush. And so all of the early stage investigators that are funded in this program have access to those resources. And then we have methodological and biostatistical consultation. We actually have two biostatisticians associated with the center who are there to help support you in your projects. They won't run your analyses for you, but they will definitely give you guidance and even help you leverage your pilot study into a future grant application. Okay, so we have some priorities that we're looking to fund. So some of them are targeting disparities in multiple chronic diseases. In addition to the pilot studies, the center has 5 large R01 projects. All of those focus on disparities in multiple chronic conditions. And so we're hoping that the pilot program also funds studies that focus on that same topic. We'd love to fund studies that focus on intersectoral approaches to reducing disparities. So those are approaches that kind of leverage systems outside of the health sector. So this could be housing or legal support or food access, things like that. We like, but do not require that studies have a strong bidirectional partnership with a community-based organization. So those are viewed very favorably. We'll talk a little more about that later. Of course, we like novel studies, new approaches, new designs. Every year we could probably update the list of what's new and exciting in terms of approaches. And we do try to support applications from underrepresented minority researchers. All right, to be eligible, you have to be a Chicago-based researcher. You have to do your work in Chicago and be associated with some kind of Chicago academic institution or community organization. And that's mandated by the NIH funds this center. We are looking for postdocs. We're looking for early career faculty, assistant professors, instructors. You can be more senior if you are new to the area of disparities. So we will fund applications from associate professors who are just starting to do work in disparities. If you're a student, a pre-doctoral trainee, or a resident, you are not eligible. I think it's kind of, I mentioned this already, the work has to take place in Chicago. And by early stage disparities researchers, we're talking about folks that completed their training in the last 10 years or who have not had substantial NIH funding in health disparities as a PI. You can only get one of these. So if you've already gotten one, unfortunately, you're not eligible for a second, but you can submit multiple applications that are scientifically distinct. I think, is this like our 9th slide? Maybe this is a good point to turn it over to Arshia.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Brett. So there are several components for the application. One is just a face page, which is actually just a red cap form, basic demographic information. Mentorship plan. So we want to make sure that you guys all have mentors and just describe sort of, how frequently they'll meet with you, what type of support they'll provide. And if you need some assistance in finding a mentor or finding a mentorship team, please let us know. We have folks that we work with through our center who are interested in mentoring folks. We'll have to have an abstract, a specific aims page, and a research strategy. That's pretty much basic for most NIH applications. We do ask for about a paragraph on plans for future funding. So like, how are you going to use this pilot? The findings from the pilot award, the project, how is it going to lead to the next grant or the next project? And then the references. We do want a detailed budget, and then a justification for that budget, an NIH biosketch for you as the PI, the protection of human subjects, inclusion across the lifespan, inclusion of women and minorities, inclusion enrollment table. So that's all for human subjects research. And then letters of support for if you're collaborating with other institutions or organizations. I think that was always helpful. Some of these have standard forms, so you'll see in like the web links here, and I think you'll see it on the website. You'll get these slides as well, so you can open up those. But your grants folks at your institutions should be able to provide you some of these forms and support in filling these things out as well. Community engagement is actually really important. There is a score that depicts the amount of community engagement you have, but it's not really a requirement. But we do want you to sort of comment on like, what's the level of community engagement? Why are you working with the organization maybe very closely in terms of like designing the research together and such, or maybe you're in early stages where there are going to be more stakeholders or advisory groups or inform you. We just want you to sort of explain like where you are in terms of the community engagement continuum in your application. We do have consultation. We actually have a whole core, like a unit of the C3EN Center that focuses on working with community-based organizations in Chicagoland. So based on your relevant topic, we may be able to connect you to someone. So please let us know if you're looking to partner with the community organization. We can see what we can do. So in terms of the funds and the duration, it says 12 months, but you can actually ask for up to 24 months. You just have to make sure you can justify, like in your timeline, that you would need 2 months to complete the project. Your budget, so it's up to 50,000, but if you have active involvement of a community partner, you can actually ask for an additional 10,000. That would hopefully be allocated towards that community partner. So then you would have a total of 60,000. We do cover indirect costs, and you may need to modify the budget prior to the award. A lot of it depends on how much we get from NIH. So we'll let you know if you need to make any modifications. There are some limits for conference travel and like equipment purchases. And we do provide some PI support up to 10%. Yeah, and if it's more than that, you really have to justify that to us. So, and then the good thing is, if you are awarded a pilot grant, there's support that comes afterwards as well. So, you can get consultation for methods. We have experts in biostats, informatics, implementation science that are a part of our advisory council and board. So we can connect you to folks. We were talking about mentorship. We can also help you identify a mentor, maybe in a content area or methodology. And then there are these research progress meetings that we do have. I think they're quarterly right now. The format kind of changes. Sometimes it's like updates on your project. Sometimes we bring a speaker in. It's really for you guys to sort of talk to each other, learn about your projects. And then we do ask for some brief progress reports as well. A lot of that comes down to how often NIH wants them from us. That'll be at least yearly, but maybe even quarterly, like a quick survey. So there is some reporting that does come along with getting the award. So just other notes regarding the funding. So if you have human subjects in your research, you have to get IRB approval before you can get the funds. And if and also we have to look over the data safety monitoring plan for all non-exempt human subject research studies. Just make sure you include some of that with your application, or after you are awarded, work on your IRB as soon as you can. And if you are conducting a clinical trial, then you do have to register at clinicaltrials.gov prior to enrollment of the first subject. So just some basic things there. So the applications due 1st of October at 5 p.m. And then the website has some more information regarding the pilot award program. We also have the Joyce Chapman Community Grants Program, which is for smaller projects, community partnered. You know, if you want to get some, oh gosh, like, you know, focus groups maybe, or some stakeholders or community advisory board together. So there's different types. So that's a little bit less money. So that's another awards program that we run. I think we are open, and here are our emails if you have any questions. So, so what questions do you all have for us? Anything about the application or the topics? Yeah, Lauren.
I have a question. So when you go back, you maybe don't have to go back to the slide, but I saw on the website that there are Word documents for the NIH format. Do they have to all be plugged into those Word documents, or is the 5-page proposal okay to be separate from those?
Yeah, the 5-page proposal, just prepare that in Word
In Word, okay.
Yeah, or submit it as a PDF. Like you'll just upload it onto into the REDCap as its own document, and then I compile it later into like a massive file with the budget and you know, all those different things.
Good to know. So those extra Word documents are just kind of for reference for like the categories, like the significant innovation, those things, not necessarily to like plug into there to upload. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, Loretta?
Be getting a little into the weeds, but by multiple chronic conditions, I noticed that mental health is listed as like an intersectoral factor. And I'm wondering if, like, for example, I'm a clinical psychologist, if mental health is considered a chronic condition in this context.
Yeah, generally it is. I think we do have a few projects that focus on different mental health outcomes. I think PTSD is at least one, maybe two of the projects. So certainly that's relevant.
Yeah, I would go further, Loretta, and say that so our community engagement side did a series of town halls across Chicagoland, and to try to identify what are the most serious health concerns affecting different neighborhoods. And mental health was like number 1 or number 2. So our center has a very, very strong interest in funding mental health projects. So feel encouraged to, you know, submit on that topic.
Thank you.
What other questions do folks have? Anything about the content or the application process?
One in the chat here says, I have questions about community partnerships, new to the area, but I'm on clinical service right now and will have to run. Is there a person on your team best to reach out for?
Kurt, I'll shoot you an email with the names and email addresses of the people. Yeah.
Yeah, good idea.
Any other questions, queries?
I have a
Well,
question.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Tiffany.
So you said that we could ask for up to 24 months in the timeline if there was a compelling reason. I guess I was just wondering if you could say a bit more about what you all might understand as compelling reasons.
Oh, this gets tricky because we're going into year 5. So the start date for this award, sorry, before we get to the compelling reasons, let's talk timelines. So the start date for this award would be July 1, 2025. Technically, our 5-year center ends 6/30/2026. So we really want people in this cycle to finish their projects in 1 year, if possible. So it's possible that our center will be granted a no-cost extension, but of course, we don't have a letter in hand. That's just been verbally stated to us from the head of the NIMHD. So yeah, and then compelling reasons. I'll let Brad and Arshia speak on compelling reasons.
There's not many, I'll be honest, because in general, these are pilot awards meant to be the launching pad for your next grant. So if they're 2-3 years long, then that's holding you back a little. One example could be that you're doing a study that requires a period of follow-up that you just have to wait for. You have to wait, for example, 6 months, 12 months to follow your population for some outcome. So that would kind of introduce a necessary delay in how quickly you could finish it. Or perhaps there's a sequence of activities in your project that kind of build on each other. Maybe some formative research where you're creating some product with a community group, and then you have to refine it and test it out or something like that. But in general, there's not too many reasons.
Yeah, and Melanie, would you say it's like safe to say that for our applicants for this cycle, that we should ask for 1-year application, like project?
Yeah, I think what it would come down to is if at the funding, what do you call it? At the funding, like where we're trying to decide between 2 applicants, I think our center leadership would probably decide to fund somebody with a shorter timeline in this cycle, because it's cycle 5 and we're getting close to the end of the 5-year grant. Yeah.
Great. Good question. Thank you.
We have one in the chat from Narav asking about whether this one project is relevant. And it focuses on kind of factors associated with access to different kinds of joint replacements and outcomes. I'd say that could be potentially relevant to the degree that there's disparities in outcomes related to that access. And so you could probably make a case for that. If it was simply a project focused on kind of documenting the disparities, that would be less impactful than something about how you might address it or modifiable risk factors. Feel free to send other questions to any of us, the 3 of us. We're happy to answer. Other than that, I suppose we can adjourn and wish you the very best of luck with your applications.
Great. Thank you for coming, everyone. Take care.
Brad, Arshia, do you guys want to hold on for 10 minutes and we can probably do our Wednesday meeting? Did
Yeah,
Arshia
sure.
leave? Maybe Arshia left. I missed her. Let me stop the recording.